Welcome to today's tutorial once again. So we'll be talking about Figma and everything about Figma. And now, like we already know, Figma is a designing software. Let me write it down. It's a designing software. So Figma is a designing software. Figma can be used to create UI solely for the purpose of UI, user interface. So this is what Figma does. Figma helps you to create user interface UI. But we're talking about user interface. We're talking about the surface, what you see, what users see in mobile site, in mobile app, and in web application. What users see, what users is meant to see. Figma does it, and with powerful collaboration with developers, it makes developers' work to be very neat and well structured. And with the evolution of Figma sites, you can also bring to life your website built inside of Figma. And you can make it live with the evolution of Figma sites. Having said that, now let's look at the Figma interface, what we see here. Now, the Figma interface can be grouped into 3 or 4. Let's say the left panel. Let's call this the left. This is the left panel. And this is the right panel. The right panel. This is the right panel. So talking about left panel, I mean this part here. So when I say left panel, I'm talking about this part. This is what we call left panel. I was wrong. So I'm trying to draw a line so you understand what I'm trying to say. Let's get this 4. So now this is the left panel. Everything here is the left panel. But when I talk about the right panel, this here. So this part here is the right panel. So this whole part here is the right panel. Then talking about the canvas, then we have canvas. Everything you see where you can design, all the parts you can design, where I can write all the old details I'm writing, can be said to be the canvas. So this is it. Then we have the toolbox, tools bar. Then this can be said to be the tools bar. So this is our tools bar. So this is our tools bar. When I'm talking about tools bar, I mean everything here can be said to be a tools bar. Now let's go after it. Let's go over it one after the other so you understand it better. So this is the left panel. The left panel has this. This is the name of the file. You see, I named mine website design tutorial. I'm using the web app. I'm not using the application. I'm using the website. So this is web design tutorial. This is what I named it as. I'm on the free version. Then what else? Then this is page. So we can have 3 or 4 pages. So when I click here, the plus icon here, I'm adding another page. With the search icon, you can go over this later. The search icon, you get to search for anything inside the canvas. It will appear here. Then layer. The layer has to do with everything you do on the canvas is seen as a layer. So that this is the layer. Then beside this part, this first panel, we have this section, the main menu. When you click the main menu, you see different options here. You see a file to create a new design, and all these, the Figma site, the Figma make, Figma slides, Figma boost, Figma jam. You can actually go over it at your spare time. Then this also, you can go over it. Each of these, whatever you do here, has a way of reflects in the canvas. So on the left panel, that's for the file. Then you have Figma Agent. Figma Agent is one tool or one update that was recently included on Figma. Figma Agent works only for the pro version and not for the free version or the free plan. Then you have the assets. Assets here, first you see all the details of everything you have in the file appears here in the asset. But aside whatever you have in the file appearing, all the components appearing here. As we go on, you will understand the meaning of components. So now, aside that, the next thing is Figma has 3 inbuilt system, which is the iOS and the iPadOS 2.6 Material 3 Design Kit and the Simple Design System. So to expand it more, you see what I'm trying to say. So this is what Figma has. You can remove, but it's always better not to remove it because you may literally want to use it for your design. So this little thing later we'll talk about as we progress. We'll talk about it as we progress. But the major thing you need to know about this asset is, if for example I'm creating, I'm making a design and I need a navigation bar. So I may just come over to the asset and type navigation menu. So when I type navigation menu, Figma gives me every details it has, inbuilt details it has. So I may just drag and drop on my file and edit. I may drag, drop and edit. Drag, drop and edit. So this is what happens. This is what happens in Figma assets. So whatever you want, if you don't want to design from the scratch, you can just go over to the assets and it will give to you. Then the toolbox, the tools. Tools most likely contains your recent or your most recent plugins used and other plugins that are available in Figma. So you might come over to tools, and when you need a plugin, just come over to tools, type a plugin. Let's say I need an Unsplash plugin. Unsplash. See, it shows me different kind of Unsplash plugin. Then I choose the particular one I want. So tools encompasses all your detailed plugins in Figma. Then you have variables. Variables is one thing that is used to create the light mode, the dark mode of every design system. So that is what you have. And for variables, it usually comes with this. This is inbuilt variables in Figma. So this global token, whatever you see here, it's an inbuilt variable. So Figma has an inbuilt variable in Figma where you can work with. So as you're working with the inbuilt variables, although you can edit, you can make edits once, you can make edit if you want, but this is an inbuilt, whatever you have here is an inbuilt variable. And this variable will lead us to styles on the right panel. But just know for now that variables. To define variables, we can say variables are items or things that are reusable in a design, or those elements that are reusable in a design is known as variables. Then if I want to create my own, I may come over to here and create collection. Then it becomes my own collection. So but for this is a global token. Okay, so now we're not doing anything here. So let's go back to file. Now we've talked about the left panel, and remember this left panel is always very useful. So whatever you're designing, however you're designing, you must make sure your details are well, your layer, particularly your layers are well placed in an auto layout. So now having said that, the next thing we're going to talk about is the right panel. So these are the right panel. The right panel can currently be grouped into design and prototype. For design, it shows you everything that you can use to edit a detail or edit something or whatever you're designing in the canvas. You see, this is a position, this is rotation. If I want to rotate this 360, I'll do that here. Then resizing, auto height, fixed height. So this is for to resize this. We use these resizing properties to resize our design. But if I place this in an auto layout, the resizing will go and it will appear as dimension. Let's do that. You see, the resizing property has gone, and we now have an auto layout with an auto layout new properties. So that's actually something you need to know. So let's remove it again. You see what I'm trying to say. So without auto layout, you just see resizing, fixed height. This is just because there's no auto layout in the design. Once an auto layout appears, the whole thing changes. So now that's for layout. So we've talked about the position. This part is of position, this part is for layout. Then appearance, you can as well choose to hide this, reduce the opacity, increase the opacity. Then the typography, now with this, everything about the text is imputed here. Then fill, talking about fill color. Then stroke effect is talking about shade, applying different colors of shade effects. Then to export, always make sure when you want to export, you export your design in 4px. it's brighter, it's clearer. Okay, having said this, I believe you now understand the right panel and the left panel, what the right panel and the left panel does in Figma. Then now, before I forget, the prototype section. The prototype section, we actually cannot use it now because we've not really made any design in our Figma canvas. But with the design file ready, maybe we have a design, we'll come over to prototype. And there's something I did not say. When you see something like this link, it's all about creating a link and applying variables. If I click here now, I'll be able to apply variables to whatever I want. But now this is, let's go back. Let me not get you confused. But just know that this is link. This is to apply variables, while this is to create a component. As time goes on, this union subtract, we'll talk about it one after the other. Then let's just look at the tools bar. The tools bar, this is the move icon. With this, when it's clicked, I can move everything I want. You know, that's what the move icon. Why is for frame? Now there are three, the region tools, there are three things here. We have the frame, section, and slice. Section and slice is probably used when your design is ready before you hand over to the developers. Then you have your shape tools. The shape tools have different types. You have star, you have square, you have different things here, and you can as well add image to a file from here. So that's it. Then you have your pen tool. The pen tool is used for drawing, literally used for drawing. So this is the function of the pen tools. It's used for drawing. Let me remove it. Then your text. To get your text, you can as well just type T, letter T, or you come over here, you get your text. Then the text, Figma has two forms of text. Text on parts. For example, I want to write on the circular pattern. I will just come here and click a circular pattern. Then if I want to make my text plain text, I'll come over to that one. So that's something you need to know. Why here, comment section is used for collaboration. Then now the actions icon, actions tools. The action tools has assets. All the assets here, it appears here in the action tools. Yeah, you have plugin and widgets. The plugin and widgets, you're talking about all the tools. The old tools there, when you type it here, you see all the tools. So that's all. That's all. Then we have these four icons. This first one here is the draw tool, used precisely for low fidelity wireframe. If I want to design things, I will come over, use the stand. So that's just it. This is what it is. This is what it does. So this is, you can also explore it later on your time. Then, like I said, this is the design. Then now this is the third one here is the motion. Figma, although it's on this beta stage, but it's Figma motion. Figma motion gives you another level of prototyping. Then when you're ready, you click this, showing that you are ready to hand over your design to developer or developers mode, used most especially by developers. So I believe you understood to this extent what Figma is, how Figma can be used, and everything relating to Figma. Now, without wasting much of our time, let's talk a little about designing proper. So let me use the word designing in Figma. Designing in Figma. Now, to design in Figma, one thing is certain. You have your design, you have a company you want to work with, or you have an idea you want to bring to life, so you need to design. Designing in Figma. To design in Figma, we need design system. We need what they call the design system. Now, this design system helps to arrange your work, arrange your layers or whatever you do in the canvas. The design system helps you to arrange this work. So now we're going to create a design system, or we will create a design system, or better still, I will use an inbuilt design system in Figma. But when we're talking about design system, we're talking about the color system. The two major forms of design system is the color system and the typography. The typography system has to do with text hierarchy and how text is used in the system. While the color system talks about how color is used on the system. Now take for example, I have this and I want to give it a color. If my brand, well, if I'm working for a particular brand and the brand already has a color that they work with, or the brand color, what I'll do is I'll come over here and either create this color system manually, or I use a plugin and create this color system. Now let's go to a plugin called Fig Identity. Fig Identity is one plugin I use in creating design system guide, because Fig Identity will help you, will not only help you to create a color system, it also help you create typography, help you create every other thing you want to create. So now you see my design system is ready. This is for the color. This is for the color. And it is this way because I have already used Fig Identity before. You see, I've named it this Fig Identity. So when I come into any layer and I click Fig Identity, it automatically gives me the color system I have generated before. So this is what they call color system from Fig Identity. And now what do I now do? Having this Fig Identity is not enough. The next thing is you create colors variables in Figma. So when I click this, I'll be able to create variables which I will use in the design using Fig Identity. For now, I think there's an issue here. But whatever I'm trying to say is that with Fig Identity, I can actually get a color system and also a typography system. You see, I've done this already before, but if you have not actually had the design, maybe you're using Fig Identity for the first time, you will have space for it. Or if I want, I can as well create a new project. These are the styles I have created before now. If I want, I can create a new project. So that is how it works. So you see, I'm using I changed to Fig Tutorial, a plugin I used before now. You see, everything here changed to the new tokens, or to the new tokens. All I do is I'll come over here and I'll export. I'll create typography styles in Figma, then I will export. When you export, automatically it appears in both your color style and your text style. That's actually something you need to know. So, but I'm not using this. I want to use the inbuilt style in Figma. So now here's the inbuilt style in Figma. So for example, this is color. So when I come over to apply style, fill, apply style, it will give me the list of tokens or colors available in Figma, variables available in Figma. All these are the variables available in Figma. This is material design. This is inbuilt. The above is inbuilt. Then we have material design kits. Then we have simple design kits. Then we have this iOS. So this is a color style. So I can just come over here and pick one of the colors. Automatically, my details, my diagrams or my work changes. So that is what happens with the color style. Then for text also, we'll be using in our design, we'll be using the inbuilt text typography style in Figma. Talking about typography style in Figma, we have the global token, which is this. Then we have this material design token, material design kit. Then we have body. Okay, sorry, we have a material and simple design. So that's for this. And so we will be using global token. We'll be using global token for the purpose of our design. We're using global token, or better still, we'll be using material design. We use material design for our design. So everything we're going to be working. If I just come over here and I click this, see, it has changed. If I come over to material design and I click display, it has changed. So this is when we talk about typography style and the color style in Figma. So this is how it works. So let me get something else here. So you see, so this is medium, but You see the changes. So this is how the material, this is how the design system works in Figma. Having said this, the next thing we're going to be talking about is grid. The grid system or layout grid. So let's call it grid system. The grid system. In Figma, grid uses column to make your design look presentable. So that's what we're talking about, the grid system. Now take for example, if I'm working on a design, say I'm working on a mobile design or a mobile responsive design, and let's use I'll come over to frame iPhone 13. So I'm working on this. So now what do? I need every details well positioned in my frame. So that is where grid system comes in. We have different form of grid system. We have the 4px, the 8px, 16, 32, and so on. But yeah, we're going to be working with the 4px. So, but the easier way to get grid system is to use the inbuilt grid system in Figma. And there's an inbuilt layout grid in Figma. So I'll come over to apply style. Then for okay, see this is the one I created. This one above is the one I created, but Figma has its own design system. So you see, if we come over here and click this, you see this is an inbuilt design system in Figma. Then now this is for the mobile view. Then you will not want to use the same grid system in mobile view for a desktop view, for a tablet view. So let's go over for a tablet view and see what we have. We'll use a different grid system. Let's use this. Then for laptop or desktop view, let's use this. So now what do we do? Now for this, why for frame? Remember I said mobile frame, we're using 4 column grid. For tablet view, we'll be using, let's use 10. Let's look for the one here that has 10 counts. Okay, this has 12. Let's remove it. Look for not this one too. Let's see if we find the one that has 10. It's 12. It's like all the layout grids here, they are all 12, 12, 12, 12. Let's see what this one has. Column 12. So better still, let's just pick one of these. Let's take one. Let's use one of the 12. We're not using this one. Let's use something different. Or this one. 2, 4, 6, 8. It's 8 pixel. 8 pixel. Not use this one. Let's this thing. So let's use that one. Then for the mobile laptop desktop view, come over to layout guide. And let's not use this one. Let's use this one. Okay. So I'll be using this one for layout guide. Now someone will ask me, can you do them yourself? Yes, you can as well do these things yourself. So how do you do it yourself? If I want to create a layout guide for myself, I'll come over here, bring out the mobile view, click on layout guide, come over here, add it as column, make it 4. I'm using 4 pixel. Then I can make it 16. See this for the mobile view. Then 440. So for the tablets, what do I do? I'll come over here. Let's change it to 10. Let's say we're using 10. Using 32 for the margin and leave it at 16. Then for the desktop, 510. Let's increase the weight to normal. Macro 14. Then I have to change the the count to 12. Then here, if I want, I can make here center, make here 72, make here 24. This is also a column grid, but you mustn't really work with center all the time. You can as well change it to stretch. You can as well change it to stretch. Make it 32, 64. No, make it 64. The margin 64. Then this 32. So all these are grid system in Figma. So now how do you work with it? If I want to work with it now, what do I do? I'll make sure whatever I'm doing, fills, whatever I do here fills the column. That's the beauty of the design system, or that's why the design system is created, to guide you as a designer into knowing what to do or how to present whatever you are doing. So this is what the mobile view will look like. Then for the tablet view, I might have something like this. Then for the desktop view, may have two pattern, something like this, or okay, yeah, so that's just it. So this is what Figma grid system look like. So see you next time in our next class. Thank you.